So I'd like to shift gears here a little bit now to kind of maybe some more generic insights that
Mhm.
you might have for our listeners. Of course, it'll still end up centering a lot on Acceldata, I'm sure, given how much it's been a big part of your life for the last 6 years. That in an interview, you mentioned realizing that being a CTO is as much of a people problem as it is a pure technology problem,
Yeah.
and that you had to move from an architect slash programming mindset to putting yourself in the shoes of customers, of marketers, and employees. So, what kinds of guidance do you have for our listeners? What kinds of habits or frameworks should our listeners be thinking of to have the kind of success that you've had as a technology leader and growing a huge startup like Acceldata?
Yeah. We've grown from 4 people to 100 people. I'm just talking about engineering as such, right? We have of course more people in the org. And we have done this through COVID and remote work and then coming back to office. The reason why I said it at that time, and I really believe it, is because, most of the time as technologists and programmers, you always believe that your version of what you're building, right, is correct, right? It's the best way of doing something, right? So if I build it, of course they'll come, right? That's the standard thing. And then there are two aspects to it. One is that why do you need to think of it from your customer's perspective? Because the customers, they operate in a different sort of an environment. They don't have the same degrees of freedom that you do. And most of the time, everybody is coming in from some sort of a guidance, right? So, the way I think about it is that a new CEO comes in or a new data leader comes in, and they come in with with some sort of vision that, hey, I can do this because I know I've been successful somewhere, and now I'm going to go down this technological path. And then somebody down the organization gets a guidance, and that guidance is, it has two axes. One is the technology axis of it, which is saying, okay, we need to modernize, we need to use this technology. And for example, now the whole thing is we need to do AI, right? That's the whole thing, something like that. And the other one is the business, which is that there is a business problem you're trying to solve. This is not like a school project where you build some sort of a website and say, hey, this Gemini one shot at this and it's so cool. So usually it's in those axes. And unless you actually put yourself in the customer's shoes and see if your technology or whatever you're building is actually applicable to what they're doing, can bring them some value, can make them successful so that they can show this success to their leadership, and then it actually adds value. So next year, when they come back to you, they're willing to buy more, or they're willing to continue with your POC, POV, and then convert it into a contract, and then you get revenue, and then you expand from there. You build new offerings, right? So unless you think about it, because your engineers are not going to think about it, right? So you hire people, you give them a task, you say, hey, you're going to work on AI, you're going to work on data, you're going to work on network. Nobody's going to think about it. So somebody in an engineering org has to actually do it. I've always felt that product managers are great, but they are focused on features, right, and issues and bugs, and it's really difficult to be that good at all of these aspects. So as a technologist, somebody in the org, so if not the CTO, then who else, right, has to think about the fact that am I building something which will bring value to a customer, and how do you create an org which kind of gets that information. And so that's from a customer's standpoint. And from an engineer's perspective, um, most people would not be in, and this is something which I've read as well, right? After some point, a salary or money is not so interesting to people. And so if you want to attract people who want to stay with you, especially during a startup's first few years, you don't want people to come and go all the time, because it kind of hinders your ability to carry on context and build at certain speed. And so if you want to bring in people at an early stage, they have to have the belief of, hey, what is this company going to do? Why am I doing it? What's my way of expressing, let's say, creativity through code or through engineering? And that is hard to do if all they get is like a bunch of Jira tickets which have to be done through sprints, right? So you have to create an environment where people think that they are, in some sense, innovating in whatever domain the company has chosen for itself. And for us, that has to do with enterprise and data management. And so the way we want to run our R&D and engineering is to see how much we can innovate here, and not just the fact that, hey, the company roadmap has been decided in the beginning of the year and here is a bunch of plans for the rest of the year, and do it. So we have allowed, or let's say, worked with our team to innovate on a lot of things. And some of these examples are like, the ODP link, right? This is completely engineer-led initiative, right? If you don't have a data platform, we needed one internally for testing. We don't want to pay license fees. We don't want to have security vulnerability. So we built it. We also built our own vulnerability management systems because we ship a lot of this enterprise software and everybody will scan it. There's a lot of vulnerabilities. So we built a whole AI agent to fix vulnerabilities. And we've built our own kind of data center stack, like an open stack, because VMware is expensive, OpenStack is too complex. So we built something. And so this is, I think, what inspires people to say, hey, I'm here to do technology, and this company happens to do technology in this arena, and that's where I'll spend time, right? So you got to put yourself in the shoes of the engineer you're hiring and also the customer you're talking to, and then try to bring in a plan which kind of works for both of them. So at least that's the way I think about these things.